Now we're going to have a look at the filter, which is located in this section here. So I've got the initialized patch once again. And in this case, we have oscillators 1 and 2 being routed through our filter, as we can hear. Now, to change the type of filter setting we have, we click on this little menu item here and it brings up our different options. And if we want to bypass the filter, all we need to do is click on this little F here and you'll see it's unilluminated in the router as well to show that it's being bypassed. So when we select a filter from here, you'll see that there's a menu which will change here, which will allow us to access different settings for that filter. So depending on what it is we choose, this is going to change. So it's kind of a contextual menu depending on what is selected here. So our main controls for the filter is our frequency control or cutoff, which allows you to determine the point at which you're cutting away the frequencies. Now in the case of a low pass filter, obviously we're cutting away frequencies above the cutoff point. Now if we were to change this to, let's say, a high pass filter, that would be the opposite. So we're cutting away frequencies below the cutoff point, allowing high frequencies to pass. Now the resonance control will create a boost around the cutoff point, so it allows the filter to resonate essentially. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. So it helps you to bring out harmonics that are in the signal. Standard control you get on synthesizer filters. Now we also have a key tracking option here. And what this means is, it means the keyboard is routed to the filter cutoff. So as we play higher notes on the keyboard, the filter will open up to accommodate. So if we didn't have that option on, or any amount for that option, these would now be unlinked. So the keyboard would not be linked to the filter cutoff. So that means if I played a high pitch, it's going to sound duller than if we have key tracking on. Because obviously a lower frequency cutoff means that the higher frequencies are going to be residing above the cutoff point, whereas with the key tracking brought up, the filter is going to open to accommodate. Okay, so we'll leave that up, it's up by default. And next up we have a filter frequency modulation option. Now this relates to this FM little option down here. Now this means we can modulate the filter frequency cutoff using a modulation source. In this case it's oscillator 1. So we can take different outputs of modules and route them into this. So I can actually route the filter output back into itself. Now in this case oscillator 1 and the filter output are going to be modulating the filter. There's no modulation that takes place unless this dial is up. Okay, now let's actually change the pitch of oscillator 1. And let's actually bring up the level of oscillator 2, and we'll take oscillator 1 out of the actual audio pathway. So depending the tuning of the oscillator, we're going to have wildly different sonic effects. So if it's a harmonious interval, for example, that's an octave, very harmonious, it sounds quite cordant. Whereas if we go discordant, it sounds discordant. So we'll take it off. Bring it back in, it adds some real nice tonality to the filter. And that's the filter frequency modulation. So as I said, we can push this as much as we want. Add some resonance. So it really gets quite aggressive. Now finally, we have a gain control for the filter. Okay, let's actually reset this patch. So we can boost up the level of the filter. Now often removing frequencies will actually reduce the levels, so that's a good way of dialing that back in. Okay, so let's have a look at our filter types. So the first one we have is Asimov. Now this is a low pass filter. We have 3 poles, a 4-pole, 2-pole and a 1-pole, which is quite rare to see on a synth. Quite a subtle filter. 4-pole is going to be more steep. We have Blue Monarch. Now this is the filter taken from the Native Instruments plugin Monarch. Now this one has different settings, 3 poles, low pass, and we have a band pass. You can see what that's doing from the image. Creates a band of frequencies that are allowed to pass through. A peak filter. Bring up the resonance. This creates the boost in the frequency spectrum. A high pass. And a dual notch. So you can see from the image what's actually going on here. Okay, so next up we have the comb filter. Now a comb filter allows us to create spikes in the frequency spectrum that we can actually accentuate using the feedback control. And we can actually pitch this effect as well. Now again, the more harmonious the interval, the more this will hold together as a kind of pitch sound rather than a discordant, dissonant sound. And the feedback control, as I said, is going to determine how subtle or unsubtle this effect is. Now the feedback can be positive or negative, so we can have peaks, or instead we can have troughs where the peaks were. So it's a different kind of effect. Now what we also have are different modes for this. Now, down towards the bottom, we have an all-pass frequency. So this allows us to sweep throughout the whole frequency range. And we also have a low pass. Now this means if the comb filter gets a little bit too much in terms of the high frequency content, we can dial that back. Now obviously, these buttons underneath allow us to modulate this as well. So we can create movement in the comb filter. Okay, let's head over to Creek. Now this is another low pass filter. Again, has different modes. I've got full resonance up there. So just different flavors. It's kind of quite a spiky sounding low pass filter, especially with the resonance up. We have Groin. This has a low pass 4-pole low pass, a band pass, a peak and a high pass. This kind of sounds like a sync oscillator almost. So again, it's kind of a comb filtery-ish effect. Now in this case, the gain has become a character control, which almost acts like another low pass filter on the output of this filter. So again, if it gets a little bit too much in the high frequencies, we can dial that back. So as I said, for this one, we have low pass, band pass, peak, and also high pass. We then have a scanner. We have 2-pole low pass, 2-pole band pass, 1-pole low pass, and a peak filter. Quite a smooth sounding filter, this one. But with the resonance up, it gets quite kind of peaky sounding. Okay, so then we have a state variable filter. Low pass, band pass, high pass, and peak. Now this filter type has a res boost button. Now this means that sometimes there's a volume dip when you increase the resonance, and this counteracts that, so we have a volume boost if we increase the resonance. Subtle, but just brings it out a bit. It's almost quite kind of 303 sounding, or traditional filter sounding. Now in Massive 1 we had the ability to set the filter in parallel or in series. Now in this case this is set up in a slightly different way, so rather than having 2 filters we just have a kind of dual filter mode within these 2 options, parallel and serial. So let's start with parallel. So in parallel we can choose to have a low pass and a high pass, low pass band pass, band pass band pass, high pass band pass, a plateau, band pass to low pass, or low pass to low pass. So let's say traditional, we wanted low pass and a high pass. So the second filter in this case is a high pass, the first is a low pass. In this case we're going in parallel, so what that means is we're passing through both the filters at the same time rather than one after the other, which means that we're hearing the output of both filters. We can choose the bandwidth from within here. Let's bring the resonance down. So we have these different options we can try there as well. Okay, so finally, let's have a look at the SVF serial. Now this is a low pass, high pass filter. We can move the position of both of the filters using the frequency dial. And the bandwidth allows us to move the 2 filter cutoffs through the frequency range. Now these 2 dials here allow us to change it from a high pass to just a peak filter. Or a low pass to a peak filter. So there we've got a low pass and a peak. We could have 2 peak filters. Or we could have a low pass and a high pass filter. And as I said, bandwidth allows us to spread the filter cutoffs through the frequency range. Okay, so that's our filters. Thanks for watching.